Well, welcome back to Cougar Chronicle. It is October, a little chill in the air, huh?
I love this time of the year.
I know, it's just wonderful.
And we get, now remind you too that coming from Missouri, I'm still adjusting a little bit to the weather, second fall, but we still have these, you know, the hot late days of the Missouri summer, and trying to hang on.
Not anymore,
last time I looked, before we filmed, it was supposed to be 90.
Wow.
I woke up this morning, it was in the 40s, so I'm like, it was hard to get out of bed. We're trying to do some of that stuff, but it is fall, and fall is so much fun for so many reasons.
It really is. You know, we've had snowy Halloweens here. So get
Can we
ready.
not use the S word? We have talked about, like, this is the thing that I know, and I used to like snow. But then I became a superintendent.
Right.
And then my day begins at 4 a.m. making a determination on whether we have school or not.
That's tough. That's a big decision.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. We'll have it another time.
You know, it's a serious one, and which leads us into our next guest. This is a serious topic.
Well, and I think when one of the things we always come to is what is our first and foremost purpose?
Right.
And so talking about safety. And so when we think about this, and we've had this conversation before, our families are sending us their most very precious commodity. And you think about the level of trust that's involved with that.
Right.
I mean, when I think about moving out, when we moved Sherry and the kids out here, and they get on the bus for the first time, the big yellow thing showed up. We've talked about this in previous shows. They don't know the bus driver, but they trust the bus driver. We send them to strangers every day.
That's right.
And I hope, you know, obviously we want to build better relationships, and so we get to know people. But in essence, parents are sending their kids to us in trusting that we're going to return them better academically.
It's a big commitment.
Improvement.
Yes, absolutely.
But the safety and security of our kids is obviously the first and foremost thing. And I would be remiss to say that in light of recent events that we've seen over the last month or so, it was important to have a conversation about what the district does safety-wise. Now, I want to preface this by saying, as we have this conversation, and our guest, and we'll bring him into the mix now, is Mr. Andy Chouinard, who is the principal at New Bradford Elementary, has been with us for a while. Obviously, first job is elementary principal, but his other role for us, one of the many hats that you wear, because, you know, it's just two, right? Is helping to coordinate our safety protocols.
It's a big one.
Now, not the director of safety, so he's not the one responsible for that. We're all going on. But as far as the administrative end of it, kind of the planning and the processing and collection of stuff, but because he's closest to the data, I thought it would be great to bring Andy in. It's a huge passion of his, on top of the fact that it's our first role responsibility. But we want to make sure that as we have these conversations, there still may be questions that parents have, and there may be questions that we may not be able to answer, because when we look at stuff, it's not like we're rolling out what the playbook of things are.
Right.
Because we still have to have some safety pieces in there. But I definitely wanted to talk and really kind of let parents know some of the things that we focus on when it comes to safety. Because it's more than just school event. I mean, it could be fire. When district was at Missouri, we had to evacuate a short period of time because there was a railroad derailment that was carrying chemicals.
Oh my goodness!
From the school.
Things you don't think
and
of.
So so that incorporates kind of all of that stuff. So that's a long answer to say welcome. Thank you.
We're glad you're here.
So,
no, and thank you for all you do.
Thanks. So that entry, pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think the number one thing we do at our schools is safety of our students. We think about academics, you think about social emotional learning, think about all the things that happen in school on a daily basis, but by far the most important thing is to maintain the safety of our students.
No doubt.
So it's a high priority and something that we focus on regularly.
You know, John brought up a great point. We put our kids on the bus and they come to our schools. That's a huge responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, and it starts when they get on the bus. So the bus company, the transportation company, has a lot of safety protocols in place themselves with the bus drivers and the training they go through. And then when they walk through the school doors, there's things that we're thinking of and looking for and maintaining on a daily basis to make sure that students leave at the end of the day just as safe as they were when they got to school.
Yeah, that's true. To me, it's the most important topic. You know, I think as a teacher, that responsibility was almost sometimes overwhelming because you treat them like your own for that time they're in your classroom.
And it's grown pretty significantly over the years. I started in education in the early 2000s, so when I was in college was when Columbine occurred. And since that time, there's been many other events very similar to that have contributed to what we do in schools on a daily basis. And we've continued to adjust and reflect on our own practices and put in systems in place, trainings in place that reflect on the processes that we do and make sure that we're continuing to move forward in keeping our students safe.
John, forgive me. I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes.
Oh, you're fine.
Can you explain your role again? Exactly. Are you the safety coordinator for admin or for the?
So I just coordinate the safety initiatives in the district. So looking at our safety processes, working closely with local fire and PD, setting up meetings with them, getting their input on our procedures, and then working with the admin team to make sure that we roll out the processes and the procedures that are in place and make sure that those things are occurring.
So, and the reason I wanted to bring that up earlier, and I think it's important that we line that out, is so it's not, events happen. Andy has helped provide a lot of the legwork in making sure that those meetings happen, and so all those agencies are together. So he's kind of that linchpin, but he's not directing those things. We still would have site commanders and incident
Gotcha.
commanders, and the SAU still takes a big lead role on a lot of those kind of things. I mean, obviously the superintendent, the buck always stops
Right.
with me, and so with that, so what happens is because of, we look at talents and then we look at interests and things like that. Andy has taken on that role, and I then really have become his eyes, ears, and hands and feet, because I'm mobile.
Gotcha.
So if we need to do follow-up, but like things like we have emergency buckets, because for whatever reason, if we do get into a lockdown situation or an isolation
Right.
situation, we have some first aid kits with water and a bathroom bucket and things, and he helps coordinate some of those things. And then when we look at Fidelity, then that kind of works up the ladder as we go in. So he's really the administrative, he does all the hard work.
Gotcha.
And getting all those things pulled together, and then from there, then it is everybody's. I don't joke with my grandson about this, but if you ask Elijah, he will say, "Who wins with safety?" And Elijah will tell you, my grandson will tell you, everybody, because
Oh,
Grandpa has
wow.
pounded that into his
Isn't that-
head.
that's a great
From
message.
the beginning,
Yeah,
we
it really is.
talk about putting on seatbelts and things, and things have evolved so much over the last couple of decades, that teachers are more than just teaching. Now we have to be safety minded. We have
Sure.
to think about locked doors and obstructions. I mean, even hazards we had in just this last September and August, like hazards of like taking kids out on trails, and we had a yellow jacket nest that we had to mitigate and deal with. We've got,
It's a big issue.
but I think there's, what the local school district had to deal with bats in one of their schools. I mean, those are all safety-minded
Right.
items. And it's dealing and mitigating with anything that could negatively impact the learning of students.
Now, when you think of it, though, when something comes up, Andy, you have done all the legwork to have the systems in place. So you know all the EMT people, and you're coordinating it, and
Yeah,
the
I've
community.
coordinated. I wouldn't say I've done all the legwork. I
Right.
think
Well, you've
that's
done a
kind of
lot.
a
Okay.
team effort, but I try to just make sure that information is getting to who it needs to
Right.
get to, taking feedback from, like I said, local PD, local fire, communicating that out so that we can continue to work of making the district safer. Some major things we've done over the last couple of years is just building improvement. Brett Paré, our director of facilities, has been able to get some school safe grants that have improved safety in buildings throughout the district. So everything from cameras for security cameras
Sure.
to better locking mechanisms, rekeying. They put in double vestibules that are recommended by the state. Just to improve like the building safety. And then we've also done some trainings over the last couple of years actually to institute ALICE, which is a more proactive response to a violent intruder within the building,
Okay.
which you don't want to really have to think about, but you also have to be very prepared for.
Sure.
So in the past, we took a very passive approach, which is that lockdown approach where everybody kind of goes and hides in a corner. But that's proven to not be the most effective response
Interesting,
in
okay.
schools. So we try to equip our teachers to be able to take the information they have and respond most appropriately for the safety of their students. And we've done some pretty significant training in the district to move that forward, and we'll continue that work as we move forward.
Boy, is that important.
It's
Scary
obviously it's
and
heavy,
important.
but when you think about in the 50s, there were nuclear bomb drills.
Right, under the desk.
There were,
Right.
we still have to do earthquake drills and tornado
Right,
drills and fire
right.
drills, and all those things have happened because, and then as they've evolved, educators and school systems have to be more mindful of what are the new potential threats.
Sure.
If we did have railroads and we saw chemical cars, we would have to be mindful and have those kind of training
Right.
systems in place. And so I think a lot of it is really kind of getting that mindset of what potentially could be a detriment to, again, what is a detriment to our learning environment, and how do we mitigate it to the best of our ability so we have the most control. And if we don't think about it and we don't talk about it, then we're susceptible to being under control from it. And so
Yes.
that when we think about the idea of some of the safety stuff is trying to maintain control to make sure that our kids are safe. And again, that is the first. Our staff and our student safety is the first responsibility that we have. We want every child safe. We want every adult that's in our building safe. And if we're not mindful of it, then we become victim to it, and that's not what we're going to do.
And what you both said was that it enhances learning, because you can't learn if you don't feel safe.
100%.
Yep. So, okay, you told us about some of the changes to the buildings. So tell us just a little bit more about the training. We have just a couple minutes left.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, we brought in Navigate 360, which is the overarching company of the ALICE training. It's more of a proactive response where teachers may evacuate. For instance, if there was a situation happening at one end of the high school, and it makes sense to evacuate the other end of the high school, you wouldn't just hide in your classrooms, you would get out of there, get far away. Is the idea of creating time and space away from the threat.
Okay.
Instead of locking down, we may still lock down, but at the same time we may barricade our doors and barricade the adjoining doors. Many of our classrooms not only have like the main classroom door from the hallway, but also there's adjoining classroom doors that sometimes, if you look at, whenever there's an event that occurs, they do a study of it. And as a result of those studies that have been done, it's really important that we are not only fortifying our front doors, but also our back doors. So we put some procedures in place to make sure that no one can gain entry into a room.
There's a lot to this.
Yes.
We have under a minute left. What's your message to parents, Sandy and John?
One of the things that we really reinforce with our students is if you see something, you say something. Yeah. That if you see something that doesn't look right, that you say something to an adult. Report it. It's a much better situation for somebody to think something doesn't look right and report it and it turns out to be nothing, than to see something that doesn't look right, not say anything, and it turns into something more significant. So we try to review that with our students, we review that with our teachers, but if you see something, you say something, and we all work together to keep each other safe.
And it is everybody's job for safety.
That's right.
As I asked my grandson, who wins with safety?
Everyone.
Everybody.
I want to hug him. Andy, thank you. I mean, really, this is, to me, it's the most important thing.
Yes.
So thank you for all you're
Thank
doing.
you.
Yeah,
We
appreciate your
appreciate that
time
very much.
coming in.
Yeah, we really do.
All righty.
Oh,
Tough
boy.
one.
It is a tough one.
But it's important to talk about it. And I think that we don't do things accidentally. We have
Right.
very purposeful movements, and that we invest time and effort into things that are important. Obviously, the safety and security of our students and our staff is the first and foremost important.